I just constantly have it in my mind thinking, I didn't know how else to word that. It doesn't mean that your business is any less of a business than someone who's expensive, let me tell you. Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new here, my name is Millie and I document running my small business over here on YouTube with weekly studio vlogs and the odd tips and tricks video and helpful videos like this one I'm posting for you today. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be a video all about how I save money as a small business owner, because I know firsthand how hard it can be to save money, and it's so important to save where you can because running a small business can be expensive, let me tell you. So I've been running my small business for coming up to 4 years now. It'll be 4 years this summer. So I've got a few years of experience behind me, and I'm going to reel off 10 ways for you today that I save money as a small business owner. Some of you may do some of these already, you may do all of them, or there may be some points in here that you think, hang on a minute, I could do that as well and save even more money. So I really hope this video helps some of you guys out, whether you're another small business owner or are just interested in this kind of thing. And let's get straight into it. I have made myself a vanilla iced latte for this video because I always get so thirsty when I film videos. I think it's because I'm just talking at the camera all the time and my throat like dries up because I'm just not used to talking this much. So I've got the drink on hand, so if you need to go and grab a drink, please do that. So good. So the first point I've got written down for you is on my computer screen, which is up here, so that's why I'm looking this way. It's to utilize as much space in your home as you can rather than renting a studio space. So I know this is not possible for everybody. You may have a smaller place or you use all of the rooms in your house. So for my small business, I have one of the spare bedrooms in our bungalow. It's the only spare bedroom. We decided that when we moved in that this would be my office. There may come a point where I need to rent a studio space, in which case that's fine, but while I can still be at home, I am in this room, and it's not a very big room at all. I'll put some pictures on the screen right now. I don't know exactly the size of it, but like if you put a double bed in here, you wouldn't be able to put much more in here, so the room is still quite small, but I managed to fit everything that I need to in here. There's a few small businesses that I know of over the past year or two that have gone to a studio space and then they've ended up coming back home because the financial aspect of running a studio with the bills and everything is just, it's a lot for small businesses. And I feel like unless you're making a lot of money, it is always going to be in the back of your mind, like, can I pay the rent for my studio space this month? Can I pay the bills for it? And I just think if you can, do utilize space in your home as your studio. You do not need to go and rent a studio space. I feel like loads of people think that is like a massive goal or something to reach, which it is for some people, which is fair enough. But just because you run your small business from home, whether it's like a corner of a room even, it doesn't mean that your business is any less of a business than someone who rents a huge studio, if you know what I mean. So don't put that burden on yourself of having to fork out for a studio space and the bills that come with that if you don't necessarily need that space. So I'd just really think about the space you actually need, whether you can downsize, whether you could utilize a corner of a room in your home or anything at all, to avoid paying out for a space that you don't necessarily need. But obviously if you're running a business where you need loads of stock and you do need loads of room, then that is something you're going to have to factor into the cost of your small business, because with some businesses you do need to rent a studio space. But for my stationery business and for some other people who I know, running it from home is really doable. And like I said, it doesn't mean your business is any smaller or any less of a business than someone who is renting a massive studio space. The next point I have written down on my little list is to make as much stock in-house as possible rather than outsourcing. So as a stationery business, there's a lot of things that I can make in-house, and I try to make as much stuff as possible that I can. So for example, my stickers and my sticker sheets, I make those all in-house. I print them, I cut them with my silhouette. It would be easier in some aspects to outsource them and just have them here ready as stock to go, but it's a lot more financially beneficial for me to make the products in-house rather than outsourcing them, particularly with stickers. I just save so much money by making them myself, and I can make sure that the quality is exactly how I want them as well with my die cut stickers and my sticker sheets. There are some products that I do outsource, such as my tassel bookmarks, my greeting cards and notepads, things like that. That's just because greeting cards, for example, sell really well on my Etsy shop, and I don't physically have time to print greeting cards on demand, so I decided to outsource them. So you've just got to balance it up, weigh it up and see what you can make in-house. Can you keep on top of stock and keep making them, or are there some things that you really do need to outsource, and if so, you can prioritize those and maybe make some other things in-house that you were previously outsourcing, for example. I just constantly have it in my mind thinking, can I make these things by myself? Do I need to outsource them? I don't just go straight into outsourcing them. I really sit down and look at materials and ways in which I could make certain products, and then weigh up the decision of whether I do want to make them in-house or outsource them, because 90% of the time it is going to be more financially beneficial and you are going to save more money by making products in-house rather than outsourcing them. So my notepads, for example, I could make those in-house, but I don't have the machinery and like the, I don't know if you wouldn't call it machinery, but like the press to, you know, like glue the notepads together. I don't have the glue or anything like that, and it would take me so long to print off all the sheets for each individual notepad that I know it would take me so long to make notepads. And also, if I were to get a press to make the notepads and stuff, then I'd have to store that somewhere in the studio, and like I mentioned earlier, I don't have a massive room to store things like that. So for me, making notepads is actually more financially beneficial, and for timekeeping sake as well, it is more beneficial for me to outsource those. That was a situation where I thought, do you know what, I do need to outsource notepads, so that's why I chose to do that. The next point I have on my list is to do your own accounting rather than hiring an accountant. So I think I've mentioned this on my channel a few times now. I do all of my accounting myself. I do it digitally online. I don't have any paperwork at all. It's all on my computer. And I do it using my business bank account, which is with Monzo, and I use QuickBooks as well. And both of those have been an absolute game changer for me. With Monzo, it's really easy to label your expenses as, for example, wages or materials and things like that, and it will use that as a reference on your bank statement, so you know exactly what that payment is that's gone out. And then on QuickBooks, it syncs all of your banks that you have. So my Monzo account is synced with QuickBooks, and then I go through on QuickBooks and just tick everything as whether it's a business expense, personal expense, or whether it's business income or personal income and things like that. Because it is a business account, everything that goes in and out of my Monzo account is business related. So I just go through and make sure I know exactly what transaction is what, and you can attach receipts as well. So I'll screenshot my orders on Amazon and things like that, and then input them into QuickBooks. And it just gives me real peace of mind to know that everything is there ready for me to access. And because it is all digital, it's super easy to just sit down at the end of every week, every month, and just have a look through and make sure that you have accounted for everything, and then you just keep on top of it like that, and it's really simple. I feel like accounting is something that people dread when they run a small business, but honestly it's not that bad. I feel like if you have a good system and you know exactly how you're going to go about managing your accounts, then you can totally do it yourself, especially if you are a sole trader like me or a limited company. It might be slightly different, I'm not sure, but as a sole trader, that's the way that I like to do it, and I don't feel like I need an accountant. But obviously if you want that peace of mind or another person's opinion, then you could hire an accountant just to check over everything if you wanted to, but that's just something I do to save money. I don't use an accountant, I do it all myself. Quick sip of iced coffee because I can feel my throat going dry. The next point I have up here for you is to regularly go through your monthly subscriptions of softwares and things like that and cancel those that you don't use enough, or have a look and see if that software has a free version that you could use instead. I use Procreate on my iPad to illustrate and design products, but I know a lot of people use Adobe Photoshop, which I've actually never used Photoshop, which I know is probably unheard of as a digital illustrator. But with Adobe Adobe Photoshop. I don't exactly know how much it is a month or to buy the complete suite of softwares on Adobe, but I know it's quite a lot of money. Whereas because I use Procreate on my iPad, that was a £10 one-off payment to download Procreate, and I've been using that for the whole time I've been running my small business, and I've never once really thought I need Photoshop. So some of you who are watching this probably think I could not live without Photoshop, which is fair enough, but because I've never used it, I don't know what I'm missing out on, if you know what I mean. But I feel like I can do everything I need to do on Procreate, and I use Canva as well online, and it's things like that that maybe you could just, you know, reconsider. Have a look through all of your subscriptions of the softwares you subscribe to. Have a look through the list, and are there any you can cancel that you don't really use? Are there any way you could downgrade to the free version? Like, have a look and see if you do actually use all the benefits that you get from your paid subscription, and if you don't, then go down to the free version again. For example, on Canva, I do pay for the pro version, but I do genuinely use a lot of the pro features, so I know that if I went back down to the free version, I would be missing out on a lot by doing that. But it might be that if you do pay for the Canva Pro, if you don't use Canva all that much and just very rarely, it might be that you're not even using the pro features and you could possibly go down to the free version again. So I'd just have a look through all of your subscriptions and just see if you do actually still use them, or could you go to the free version instead. Linking nicely onto that last point is the next one, which is to pay yearly for subscriptions to software if you can, rather than paying a monthly fee. And I know this can seem like a lot of money going out like as one lump sum, but honestly it does make quite a bit of difference and you save a lot of money in the long run. So for example, Epidemic Sound is what I use to get all my audio for my YouTube videos, and I think it's about £15 or £16 a month now for Epidemic Sound. But if you want to use Epidemic Sound and you know you're going to use it all year, I actually pay like a lump sum for the whole year, and it takes quite a lot off. I think it's almost 50%. Don't hold me to that though. I'll put it on screen here exactly what it is if you pay per month and the amount that it is per year, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But I just renewed my Epidemic Sound subscription and I was paying monthly up until now because I've been doing YouTube for a year, but I decided to change and just pay it as a lump sum for the year because it worked out that I was saving a lot more by doing that over the space of the year, if that makes sense. So again, with your subscriptions, have a look and see how much you could save over the year if you do pay for the year up front rather than paying monthly, because it could be quite a bit, especially if you do that across quite a few different softwares. It could add up to a lot of money that you'll be saving across the year. The next point I have is to regularly check prices of the products and materials that you're using, because prices fluctuate so much and you may be able to find the exact same product for cheaper on another website, as an example. So an example of this for my business is board backed envelopes. So I get through so many A5 board backed envelopes, and for ages I was just buying them off Amazon because I am a last minute kind of gal, and I'd realised that I'd run out of envelopes and then be like, crap, I need to order them and I need to have them tomorrow. So I'd just be on Amazon Prime getting them delivered the next day, and I realised that I was wasting quite a lot of money by doing this, because I had a little look around on some websites and I managed to find the envelopes for a lot cheaper on a website that do offer next day delivery as well. And even though I do have to pay each time for the next day delivery, it still works out cheaper than ordering it from Amazon Prime, if that makes sense. And it always arrives earlier the next day than Amazon Prime as well, so that's just an extra bonus. I've actually managed to sort myself out now and I don't leave it so last minute, and I do order my board backed envelopes in a good amount of time now, so I don't even have to pay for next day delivery. I've just gradually learnt my lesson on that one. Definitely just have a shop around. If there are things that you are buying and have bought from somewhere for ages because you think that's the cheapest place to buy them from, have another look a couple of months later, because it might be that you can find the exact same product for a lot cheaper somewhere else, because it is constantly fluctuating and always changing. So don't just think because you found it the cheapest there a couple of months ago it's still going to be the cheapest place now, because it probably isn't, and there might be somewhere else that you can get a better deal as well. So definitely just regularly keep on top of making sure that that you're paying the best prices for the products and the materials that you are using. Linking nicely from that last point as well is the next one, which is to buy materials in bulk. So when you buy materials or packaging and things like that in bulk, you pay a lot less per unit when you do that, so it works out a lot cheaper. So the things that I buy in bulk are paper, packaging materials and envelopes, like the board backed envelopes I just spoke about in the last point. They're the three main things that I am buying all the time, and thermal labels and things like that, sticker paper. So when I buy these things, I buy them in bulk. For example, sticker paper, I'll buy packs of like hundreds rather than just 20 at a time, because it brings the price per unit, so per sticker sheet, down by so much. You end up saving so much more money. So I definitely think if you can store sticker paper, I store my sticker paper down here in this little divider thing. If you can store things in bulk, then definitely buy them in bulk. With things like the board backed envelopes, they take up quite a lot more room, so I don't buy those in as much bulky packs as I can. I didn't know how else to word that. I buy them in like 250 or 500 at a time, and then I stack them up in my shelving down here, and they don't actually take up too much room, the A5 ones, because they are only A5 size, funnily enough. But yeah, I just think whatever you can store wherever you're working from, order that many if you know you are going to eventually use them. Obviously it's different if you're just starting out and you don't know exactly how much you are going to sell of a certain product, so you don't want to go too OTT. But I think once you've got your business established and you have things that you sell regularly, so for me stickers and sticker sheets sell regularly on my shop, so I know that I can always buy those in bulk because I know I will eventually use them all. So buy materials in bulk or anything you can to bring that price per unit down is something that will save you a lot of money in the long run as well. Another point I have is to turn off machinery when it's not in use. So obviously running a business from, whether it's from a studio that you rent or whether it's from your home, you're going to have machinery that you have in your office and things that use electricity all the time. So just make sure that you're not leaving them on all the time, and do turn them off when they're not in use. So for example, lights, lamps, any machinery like my heat press, that is not on at the minute, the socket's not even in. I literally only plug that in when I am using it. My printer, however, is different because this is a Canon inkjet printer, and because I use it so much, I do actually leave it on all the time, because I have found that if I turn it off, when I then turn it on the next day, so say if I turned it off tonight and then turned it on again in the morning, it would go through a cleaning process which actually drains your ink levels quite a bit. It was actually when me and Lewis moved in here, I was turning my printer off every night thinking I was being all smart, you know, saving electricity, and turning it on then the next morning, but my ink was running out a lot faster than it had ever done before, and I could not figure out why. And I did a quick Google and eventually saw it said somewhere that if you're constantly turning your printer on and off again, then it will be always doing a cleaning process when you turn it back on, and that will drain your ink levels, which was obviously what was happening. So I then trialled leaving it on all the time, and my ink has been lasting so much longer, like it's ridiculous. So that is my one exception, is my printer stays on all the time, because the electricity I pay for running that printer is nothing compared to the Canon ink that I put inside it. So yeah, that is one exception, but literally everything else gets turned off at the sockets taken out and things like that, just to make sure you're not using electricity unnecessarily, because that bad boy does add up to quite a bit if you're leaving things on all the time. So just be cautious around your office. Like if there's anything you're not using, make sure it is turned off. Don't be using electricity for something that you're not even using. My next point is to buy second-hand furniture for your office or your workspace as opposed to buying brand new. So when I moved in here with Lewis, quite a lot of this stuff I brought from my mum and dad's house. There were a few bits that I did buy new, but they'll be coming with me wherever I go. Like I'm constantly going to be reusing them. But I just think things like Facebook Marketplace these days have so many great things on there. Like you can grab absolute bargains for pieces of furniture desks, shelves, anything. I really don't think it's necessary to be going out and spending loads on office furniture when you can get second hand that will suffice. So I'd say definitely consider when you're next thinking of getting a piece of furniture for your office. I wouldn't necessarily go straight to buying something brand new, even if you are in the market for doing that. I just think it's so much better for the environment and for everyone, obviously, if you do buy second hand. So have a look on Facebook Marketplace and things like that. Is there anything local that you could utilise and use for your office that would save you then spending a lot more on something brand new? That's another thing you can save on, as well as buying second hand furniture. It doesn't even necessarily have to be furniture, it can be anything. Think second hand when you're buying things for your workspace and things like that. I'm on to my last point now, and I've almost finished my iced coffee, so that was good timing. But my last point is, for every income payment that comes into your bank account, into your business, I recommend putting even just 5% or 10% of that income into a savings pot to put back into the business. This is something that I started doing since I opened my Monzo business account, and any piece of income that comes into my bank account, a set percentage of it goes straight into a savings pot that is linked to my bank account, and that just builds up and builds up. You can just put that money back into your business. It just builds up without you noticing, if you know what I mean, because money comes into your bank account and you keep a set amount, whether that goes towards your wages or you just keep it in your business bank account for expenses. But there's this little sum of money that then goes into a savings part if you ever need to make a big payment for something, or there's something you need to order for your business and you don't quite have the funds for that. You can look in that savings pot and think, oh, I can use that money for that, because that is literally what it's there for. So basically, just be cautious of income that's coming into your bank account. See if there is a set percentage of it that you could work around, that you could put aside and just let build up, and then you can put that back into the business whenever you may need to. And they are all my points for this video, guys. I really hope you have found it useful. Please let me know in the comments if you have. I really enjoy doing these tricks and tips videos for you, and I feel like you guys really like them as well. The last one got quite a lot of traction and comments and things like that, lots of engagement. And that was my 10 tips for starting your own small business video. So if you've not seen that one, I will link that in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful. Let me know in the comments as well if you already do any of these things, or if there is anything that I've said where you thought, oh my god, I could do that as well and save even more money. I would love to know. If you're new around here and have enjoyed this video, I do upload videos like this to this channel regularly, as well as weekly studio vlogs. So definitely make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future ones. And if you could also give this video a like so that I know you enjoyed it, and it will help push this video out to other people who like this kind of content too, that would be amazing. And hopefully I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye guys.